A tiny detail in Reacher Season 3's finale highlighted why Xavier Quinn is the show's best villain so far. Quinn's little dance in the Reacher Season 3 finale only strengthens my belief that he's the show's best villain. The third season had been hyping the inevitable Polly versus Reacher fight, which was the highlight of the source novel Persuader. Polly might be Reacher's physical match, but I still think that Brian T's Quinn is the best Reacher villain to date. This sadistic former intelligence officer was believed dead after Reacher shot him in the head years earlier. Unfinished Business opens with an ambush designed to take out Beck Anthony Michael Hall and the ATF agents on Quinn's trail while Quinn hosts a lavish party for his buyers. Reacher forces the last surviving man from Quinn's ambush to text his boss and tell him everything is on track, and after receiving this message, Quinn all but struts onto the dance floor at Beck's mansion. As Give It Up by KC and the Sunshine Band plays, Quinn does a funny little dance to underline how good he's feeling about the night ahead. I realize it's a tiny moment that only lasts a couple of seconds, but it adds a welcome touch of humanity. Quinn might be a murderous psychopath, but even he can't resist the feel-good vibes of Give It Up, and this little gesture carried more personality than either of Season 2's villains combined. Past seasons struggled to make their antagonists pop, but not only is Quinn one of the most menacing, his little human touches like the finale's head bop make him feel the most human. The lead child Reacher books often painted their antagonists with broad strokes, which left them feeling one-dimensional. That quality translated to Amazon's adaptation, where I've often been underwhelmed by the quality of Reacher's foes. Robert Patrick is a great actor, but there's not much he could do with Langston other than bark orders into a phone. Polly is an effectively hateable villain, but he's ultimately a dummy who is built like a tank. I don't think he's got much competition, but Quinn is easily Reacher's best villain to date. He's cunning and brutal, and despite being pure evil, he has enough quirks to make him compelling. Considering he only became a major part of Reacher Season 3 in its second half, it would have been nice to see him developed a little further. Of course, he doesn't survive the events of Unfinished Business, since, well, Reacher finishes their business with the pull of a shotgun trigger. I like how the third series worked hard to make the villains feel like genuine threats, so hopefully, Season 4 will continue that trend. Reacher has never been short on villains. Corrupt cops, ex-military madmen, cartel thugs, and shadowy government types have all lined up to test their luck against Jack Reacher's fists. But Season 3's big bad, Xavier Quinn, has quietly set himself apart. While Reacher has faced men more physically imposing or overtly sadistic, it's a subtle detail in the Season 3 finale that proves why Quinn is the show's best villain to date. It all comes down to a look. A fleeting glance from Quinn during his final confrontation with Reacher encapsulates everything that makes him terrifying, not brute force, but absolute conviction and a chilling sense of order amidst chaos. A mastermind cloaked in civility, Quinn, portrayed with icy calculation by Anthony Michael Hall, is not your typical Reacher antagonist. He doesn't snarl or rant. He doesn't revel in violence. He doesn't need to. From the moment he appears, Quinn exudes the calm precision of a man who knows he's the smartest person in the room and has planned 10 moves ahead of everyone else. Season 3 adapts Lee Child's novel Persuader, but it plays loose with the source material, especially where Quinn is concerned. In the book, Francis Xavier Quinn is a ghost, a former military man presumed dead and living under an alias. The series expands his role and gives him more presence, which turns out to be one of its smartest choices. What makes Quinn stand out isn't just his cunning or the body count he racks up. It's the way he maintains control. In a show where most villains resort to screaming threats when the plan goes sideways, Quinn remains cool under pressure. This isn't a man who improvises, he calculates. And even when he's finally staring down Reacher at the edge of death, that cold, assessing look doesn't waver. That final moment, a look that said everything, the finale sees Reacher storming Quinn's secluded stronghold with his typical no-nonsense ferocity. Explosions, takedowns, gunfire, everything you'd expect in a Reacher finale is there. But when Reacher finally corners Quinn, the scene slows down. The chaos falls away. And then there it is, that tiny, almost imperceptible glance Quinn gives Reacher. It's not fear. It's not anger. It's recognition. Quinn doesn't beg. He doesn't panic. He simply looks at Reacher, and in that instant, there's an eerie mutual understanding. Quinn knows he's going to die, but he also knows Reacher understands why he did what he did. That's what sets Quinn apart. He's not evil for evil's sake. He's a believer in his own ruthless ideology, a warped sense of justice shaped by betrayal and military disillusionment. He mirrors Reacher in the worst way. The best villains often reflect something about the hero, and Quinn is arguably Reacher's darkest mirror. Both are former military. Both are intelligent, resourceful, and guided by personal codes. But while Reacher walks away from the military to protect the innocent on his own terms, Quinn weaponizes his experience for power. He sees people as tools, not lives. Season 3 subtly explores this contrast. Reacher saves innocence. Quinn eliminates liabilities. Reacher trusts his allies, while Quinn discards his. In fact, one of the show's most haunting moments is when Quinn executes a loyal subordinate without hesitation, simply because they hesitated. It's not cruelty, it's efficiency. Quinn doesn't kill because he wants to. He kills because he thinks it's necessary. That's infinitely scarier. And that's why that tiny glance in the finale hits so hard. It's the look of a man who knows he was the villain, but also believes the world made him that way. He's not pleading for his life because in his mind, his death is simply another equation balancing out. A villain built over time. What also makes Quinn so compelling is how the show carefully builds him up. We don't get all his cards at once. Early in the season, he's mentioned in whispers, rumors, and stories about a man too dangerous to still be alive. When he does finally appear, it's underwhelming at first. He's calm, polite, even. But then the cracks show. The violence creeps in, but never overtakes the precision. Every action feels like part of a chess match he's already won. Compared to Season 1's Kleiner Jr., who relied on brute force and intimidation, or Season 2's Shane Langston, whose corruption and cruelty were plain as day, Quinn is something else entirely. He's invisible until he chooses to be seen. And by then, it's usually too late. Not a monster, a true antagonist. It's easy for shows like Reacher to fall into the trap of one-dimensional villains. But Quinn is never cartoonish. He's not just the guy you love to hate. He's the guy you almost understand, and that makes him more dangerous. The show never tries to make him sympathetic, but it does make him human. That's far more unsettling. That final look isn't just an acting choice, it's a narrative payoff. It tells us Quinn never saw himself as the bad guy. Even in the end, he thought he was doing the right thing, for the wrong reasons. And in a way, that's more horrifying than any act of physical violence. Why it matters for Reacher's future. Reacher thrives on escalating stakes. Each season brings bigger conspiracies, more intense action, and tougher villains. But if the show wants to avoid the fate of many thrillers, repetition for the sake of shock, it needs more villains like Quinn. Not just bodies for Reacher to punch, but characters who challenge his philosophy. Quinn did exactly that. He made Reacher think. That tiny moment, just a glance, was the culmination of an entire season's worth of subtext about morality, war, and the thin line between justice and